All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me. Hopefully, you guys are surviving this quarantine as well as you can be. I figured we'd just get us together and talk a little bit about, how this quarantine has affected you athletically, personally, kind of all that stuff, and talk a little bit about like tips, tricks for everybody else, whether it's on the athletic front or just simply living during this weird time in life. But real quick, why don't we just go through and kind of introduce yourselves? Give me a brief background of your athletic, a little bit of personal stuff if you want. So, for instance, Derek Toomey, I am the owner of Excel Swim Performance, performance coach for Madison Aquatic Club, swam at Minnesota, swam pro for a couple years, swam in the Olympic trials 2012, 2016, and then since moved back to my hometown of Madison. And loving what I'm doing, but a little bummed that it's on hiatus right now. So, Robin, how about you?
I grew up a swimmer runner, went to West Point and then Purdue to run. And then after college, I did some bike racing at elite level and then turned to triathlon to race at the pro level. Have kind of lived all over the country. Grew up mostly in Massachusetts, went to school in the middle of the country, moved out to California for jobs, and back to Wisconsin. I do have another job besides tri because that doesn't pay the bills. I do work at UW-Madison, but currently working at home. So.
Awesome. Great. Will, how about you?
Yeah, so similar to Derek in that 2012-2016 trials, went to undergrad at College of William & Mary, swam there 4 years, and now just in the past year or so picked up swimming again a little bit, so trying to see where we can go with it now. And yeah.
Sweet. Last but not least, Ricky.
Absolutely. I previous swimmer and coach at Madison Aquatic Club, so spent a lot of years there with Shane swimming even before he started up MAC. And from there, I swam at Eastern Michigan University for 3 of my 4 years, and then before we got cut. But then from there, I've been coaching, went from MAC to now I'm in Virginia Beach coaching for Tide Swimming. So
Nice. Well, cool. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I guess my first question, just a couple simple questions. But number one is how are you handling the quarantine? How has it changed your life? So, Will, let's start with you. We were training for the Olympic trials. We were hosting Speedos. Mac was hosting Speedos, and that was kind of one of your best chances to get the trials cut for 2020. But now, that meet got pulled. Olympic trials is postponed a year. So, how has this affected you?
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I've never fully tapered for an event and then had it canceled with nowhere to go. So that was a really interesting time when COVID-19 was just kind of starting to reveal all its cards here in the U.S. and here across the country. And thank goodness that USA Swimming made the decisions they did. So yeah, definitely a big change in where I thought I would be probably a few months ago, but just trying to look towards alternative ways to train now that pools are closed, and trying to also incorporate a little bit of fun in the day, because it's easy to, with the monotony of staying inside, get a little bogged down.
For sure. So, Robin, I know you do like a lot of traveling for triathlons, all over the place. Like, what is the triathlon athletic world looking like right now?
Yeah, everything is canceled at this point through June for the most part, and it's kind of been a rolling cancellation. So almost every day there's a new triathlon canceled. Mm-hmm. And it's really depending on the local government, I guess, wherever the location is of the triathlon, their decision as to when it's going to get canceled. So there's been a lot of European races that are canceled all the way into July, August. US is a little bit slower as to canceling some of them, but trying to target something in the fall and just have that as my goal and hope that we do get to race. I was very thankful to get a swim run in Catalina Island, the kind of a bigger race March 1st. So I was able to get that in, and my partner and I, because it's a partner race, my partner and I had qualified for the World Champs, which is supposed to be in Sweden on August 31. So holding out hope for that one.
Mm-hmm. Jeez. So Ricky,
Okay.
kind of on a different side of things, you're with me. We're coaches, not necessarily. Well, I don't call myself an athlete anymore. Maybe you do, but so I mean, talk about from a coaching side. How has this quarantine and COVID affected that for you?
It's weird. I mean, like you said, I mean, you can definitely agree with things. Like at first it was just like, all right, well, we don't have practices anymore. And at first, I mean, yeah, we love our kids, but we're just like, all right, sweet, a nice little break for them. But then all of a sudden it just turned right into like, oh man, like this is probably worse than we thought. So, I mean, we as a staff, we just tried getting going right away with like our meetings and like contacting our swimmers. So it's just like we tried making it as seamless as possible, but at the same time, with so much going on and so much uncertainty still, I mean, it's weird. I mean, it's kind of weird to think about like the last time you've seen your swimmers too. I mean, you've had your Zoom meetings and sometimes you see their face and it's just like, man, I used to have to deal with them every day kind of thing. So, but yeah, it's weird for sure.
Yeah, well, before we dive into like how you're doing athletically right now, let's just talk on a personal side of things. I mean, how's your mindset? How are you guys doing at home? What are you doing with all your free time? I know, Will, you still got pretty normal work hours, but like I'm at home 24/7 right now. I've run out of house projects. I don't have a whole lot of money to spend. I'm starting to go a little stir crazy. The first few weeks were great. Now I'm starting to get a little crazy. So, I mean, Ricky, let's start with you. What are you doing with your free time at home? Ricky?
Oh, that was for me. I thought you were saying Will. So, I mean, on my end, I live with two of my ex-college teammates and then another friend of theirs who also swam in colleges and in the same year as them. So, I mean, it's still kind of like, it's not like I'm sitting at home by myself or like a lot of other swimmers where they're with their parents and kind of getting driven crazy that way. So it's a little more entertaining, I guess. We try to keep it fun, see what we could do. But I mean, sometimes we sit there and we're like, all right, like we've had enough of each other. So we kind of like go off and we'll do our own thing. But I mean, me personally, I think we found our Wii. So we actually been going at that a little bit. So Mario Kart and Wii Sports have been, outside of coaching, my go-to for exercise. So
yeah, you're bowling those perfect 300s or what?
I was one strike away. But I mean, it happened in the first frame, and from there I was lights out. So
well, you let me know when you bowl that perfect game.
All right, I will.
Will, what about you? Any new hobbies? Anything going on with you?
I've refused to shave since day one of quarantine. So that's
been there before.
Also, our work, we like have so many Zoom meetings. I didn't realize how much I touch my face. So that's also a hobby, I think, at this point. Honestly, just trying to like learn to cook more, do some more like kind of things like that. Try to get outside, especially when it's really nice out. Just going for like a walk every day, I think, because I just don't feel like I'm like not using my car anymore, not driving anymore, not doing as much. So it's definitely a new lifestyle, new perspective.
Sure. Robin, what about you?
Yeah. Cooking a little bit more, cleaning, yard work, reading, sleeping, eating, looking up dogs. Actually, my husband and I are looking to possibly get a dog, so I'm intensely looking at how we can manage, and we'll see. Maybe we'll end up with a puppy here soon.
Yeah, I've always thought about getting a puppy, but I didn't think I was going to be home enough. But man, that sure seems like the time to get a puppy.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about athletically. Obviously, Robin and Will, you guys are athletes, so stuff you're doing for yourself to stay in shape, or maybe some new ways to stay in shape, something you're experimenting with. And Ricky, you and I can maybe talk a little bit about maybe what we're doing personally, but also what we're doing for our teams, our kids, how we're keeping them active and stuff like that. So, Robin, how about you start?
Yeah, I mean, I'm able to bike and run still, waiting for the lakes to warm up a little bit so I can go out to swim. But for other things, I mean, the volume has come down significantly. There's no reason to put myself into a hole with no races on the horizon right now, but just trying to keep it fun. And then the other thing is just focusing on mobility work and rehab exercises that I've totally let go to the wayside just because I haven't had time. Now I have time on my hands. So might as well use that to work on shoulder mobility, foot mobility, and all that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure all of you guys have heard, especially if you've been a coach at all, telling kids or athletes still, you should be doing this every day. Well, I can't, I don't have time. Like obviously
Right.
now there's a ton of time. So I mean, that's great. We're getting on some of that mobility, that extracurricular stuff that really helps a lot. So Will, what about you? What are you doing to stay in shape?
Yeah, so I've kind of been on this like triathlon kick just because I've been running and biking a lot, that I love the idea of doing one potentially, but it's just a question of when and where, I guess. So I've been, like I said, running and biking a lot because the pools are closed. Trying to break out the wetsuit one of these days and get into like one of the lakes around here. Have a friend that's volunteered to kayak with me, so trying to coordinate that now. But yeah, other than that, I'd kind of echo what Robin said about prehab, because I mean, I haven't run since I can last remember. and I mean, yeah, it doesn't feel too good if you're not stretching, not taking care of your body, or wearing those running shoes that you maybe haven't broken out of the closet in a year or so. So being mindful of new activities, I think, is really important at this time.
Yeah, you and I were texting a little bit about, did you get your rollerblades yet?
No, not yet.
No, I got a pair like a week and a half ago. I went on a good 5-6 mile rollerblade just this morning. It's hard going uphill, holding a tough pace. It was fun though.
I think I have rollerblades somewhere, but I think I'd be afraid to try them out because I'd be afraid of not being able to stop.
Yeah, I've been having a blast with it. It's been a lot of fun. Don't have to worry about many cars. Nobody's out the roads.
No, roads are empty.
You just got Derek over here with his aviators on, like skirting around corners. Like,
oh, you know it, man. I like practice. Like I'm working at Sonic, doing spins, carrying trays of
there you
food.
go. Just in your driveway.
Oh yeah.
Derek in a speed suit.
Yeah. I'll just go out of my full body laser.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. So Ricky, how about you talking about your kids? Like some things we're doing with Mac is we're putting out like daily dryland workouts. We have some track coaches on the team, so they're putting out some extra cardio stuff. We're doing Zoom meetings once or twice a week, presenting stuff. Kind of like what Robin was talking about, that extracurricular, but not necessarily physical side of things. We're doing some mindset, some nutrition, stuff like that. So I mean, what kind of stuff are you guys doing with your team?
Well, so each, like as a staff, we kind of came together. We're like, okay, be able to like connect with your athletes in whichever way is really comfortable with you. So like our national group, I mean, they have maybe 3-4 Zoom meetings a week, something like that. Like they have numerous ones where they're doing the workouts, mindset things, but then like our developmental kids, they have their meetings where it's just like, they'll just do like a fun workout together with the coach. So for me, I'm like somewhere in the middle of all that. So my groups, we kind of have one meeting where it's like a mindset, just kind of checking in with the athletes, seeing how they're doing. But then on our Fridays, we'll kind of have like a fun Friday type thing where we're going in and we're just kind of doing a workout together. So that's really where mine comes in, because I mean, I don't think the athletes really realize it, but like us coaches, sometimes it kind of gets hard on our part also, because like I go in and my form of exercise was swimming also. So to be able to find that source of exercise also and to keep myself in shape, that's kind of hard too. So I challenge my athletes. We're like, okay, let's find I'll send daily workouts also and like a daily email now too. But when was it? Was it last week? Yeah, last week I challenged them. I was like, okay, we'll set like a push-up goal. This is for my seniors. I was like, if we all average this many push-ups by the end of the week before our workout, then I'll do however many you went over.
Oh yeah.
I miscalculated a little bit. So we have like a 45-minute dry land. And I was just like, well, you guys went way over. I can't do this many in that much time. Like I was averaging like less than 1 per second or something like that. So I was just like, guys, I'm just going to go as many as I can. So one of my swimmers, he's like, Ricky, I bet you couldn't even do 300 during this time. I was like, bet. So instead of saying 300, I was like, you know what, I'm going to one-up you. I'm going to do 400. So I ended up doing 440 minutes, completely out of shape. So I kind of still hurt, I'm not going to lie. But
So how many over were they originally? Do you remember?
What was it? Because the problem was like for our group, we're kind of like a session based. So like some of them we're trying to like get to show up to the meetings, and then some of them have school, and I didn't account for that. So I think they went over by like 2,500 because some of them weren't in the meeting and I didn't account for them. And that's where my problem came from.
You have another 2,000 to make up is what you're telling me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
But I was just like, how about I just do things for him? They're like, sure, as long as you're in pain. So
by the end of the quarantine, maybe you'll get all of them in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, just trying to, on those Fridays, just doing the workouts with them, just kind of connecting with them that way. That's really what I'm doing on that part.
Cool. Yeah, very, very interesting times. You know, definitely have to
Absolutely.
work with these athletes and these new modalities and stuff. It's tricky. But let's talk a little bit about like goals. You know, I think goal setting is one of the huge things that I talk a ton about. You know, it's something I live by every day of my life. Not only the goals, but then obviously making the plan to attain that goal. But Will, let's start with you first. I mean, how has this situation changed your short-term and your long-term goals? You know, in your case, it's a little bit trickier because when you get to your level, it's not so much a year-long goal. It's sometimes like a 4-year-long goal, you know, and then it gets thrown off like this. Like, what's changed, or how are you, modifying what you need to modify?
Yeah, I'd say, I guess my initial reaction is I'd say the short-term goals have changed pretty dramatically. There's kind of varying degrees of when, normalcy will return and what capacity and capability we'll be able to get there through this. So I still have hopes that, hey, we can go to nationals next winter and in swimming and hopefully go after a trials cut again. But I'd say in the short term, just trying to kind of engage in fun cross-training kind of activities, and whether that short term is maybe 2 months or 4 months, I'm not really sure, but kind of taking it a day at a time. Yeah. Kind of taking it a day at the time and see how it pans out, I suppose.
Sure. So you're kind of just, stay aerobically fit and wait for a pool to open?
Yeah, I think that's really the best that you can do, and just try to keep doing good, healthy kind of habits up until then.
Yeah. So Robin, you were saying a little bit easier to run and bike during this time, especially if it's nice outside. But like you're saying, pools are closed, waiting for the lake. I mean, what are your long-term goals? Have they changed at all, or changing the way you train for them or anything like that?
Yeah, without a specific race coming up, at least in the next 3 months, there really isn't a need to put yourself or put myself into a major hole that to compromise your immune system with everything going on, and then to compromise just recovery. So kind of going back to some base training and pushing the bigger goals back a little bit. But kind of more focusing on like Will was saying, like a day-to-day almost mindset, and just what can I do today? You don't know what's going to come tomorrow, to be honest. You don't know what's going to come in August, September. So focusing on what we can control today and putting your best foot forward in the moment. Long-term goals are, still kind of on the horizon. Those won't ever change, just, personally, family-wise, and athletically, where we want to go with that. But yeah.
Yeah.
All adjusted, I guess. They have to adjust.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, long-term goals shouldn't, depending on how long-term they are, they probably shouldn't change much. Just kind of modifying, like Will was saying, the short-term goals and how to, still go after the long-term goals. Ricky,
Right.
as a coach, luckily for the most part, springtime is kind of like a training time for swimmers. There's not a whole lot in terms of big meets or anything like that. But how's this changing your guys' goals as a team?
Well, from more of a coaching aspect, just being able to like coach the athletes themselves, I mean, it really does kind of suck because it's just like, well, are we about to go back this next month and then have to prepare for like an end of summer championship meet, and like then are we going to have to work around that, or are we going to get back at championship season time and then have to just train through? So it's a lot of just waiting and like kind of just being ready to pounce on whatever situation pops up. So it's
Yeah.
really just kind of holding off in that way. But it's funny that you talk about goals, and like I saw your Excel thing today, and it was, last week was basically our goal setting week kind of
Mhm.
thing. Like we just talked about nothing but goals with my groups at least. But something that we were talking about was like being able to use whatever situation comes to our advantage. So I mean, we're in this situation now, and that takes away a lot of our training time, like actual physical time, but we're able to use so much like mental time now. So just being able to like do what we can to learn and basically look for the positives in these kind of situations is, so trying to sharpen up some things on the mental side and be able to go from there. So hopefully once we get back, all we need to do is train physically, get back there, and we got the mental stuff now. So I think when we go into too much physical stuff, we kind of run out of time and neglect that whole mental aspect. And I think now is just the perfect time to go after that stuff.
Yeah, swimming is such a grind sport that I think a lot of times, teams and coaches, myself included, we kind of forget to talk about and teach about those other aspects rather than just the physical stuff. So yeah, I think that's smart. Find the silver lining, work on something else that's not quite as physical. That's awesome. What about like tips that you guys have learned or have been applying to yourself for everybody else that's stuck at home in quarantine or maybe still at work during this current quarantine, whether it's athletic, personal, or whatever it happens to be? I'll start with mine. So pretty much right away, I've been doing this. About a week into the quarantine, I make a list every single day, and I write down one to-do thing in 4 different categories. The first one is going to be athletic, like my physical well-being, whether it's working out, recovering, working on nutrition, cooking, or like, was that Robin, were you saying that? Or Will, I think you were saying that too.
Yeah.
Trying to become a better cook a little bit. But one thing, physical well-being. Next one would be career or school, whether you're a student or just like me, I'm trying to do something with Excel, trying to do something with Mac, something to kind of check off my career or school list. Something social, it's a little tricky now with all this crazy stuff, but you can still FaceTime. I've been calling my grandparents and aunts and uncles and siblings a whole lot more than I ever have before, which I know they love, so it's been good for me and good for them. And then lastly, a personal thing, and I'll call this like the enjoyment thing, something in the day that I'm gonna like have a lot of fun with. And my thing that I've been doing recently is a new hobby I've been teaching myself is I'm playing the piano. I bought a $50 keyboard. It sounds terrible, but I bought it a few months ago, played it for a week, and then never touched it again. And then I just recently busted it back out. I've been playing a good hour every day or so. Nowhere near good, but it's fun for me to sit down, get my mind off of everything else, and just kind of play, learn something new. It's been great. So yeah, my big tip to everybody at home is 4 to-dos. Do something fun, something personal, something for your career or school, something for your physical well-being, and something social, so you make sure you connect with somebody during these times.
You got one of those pianos that like you could change the functions to like a quack, so every time like you
Oh man, I got 100 different sounds on this thing.
there you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, by the time this quarantine's over, I'm going to be a one-man orchestra.
There you go.
Great.
Yeah. Who do we got? Will, you got a tip for anybody at home?
Yeah, I think I've learned a few things probably over the last few weeks. And I think one that was kind of new or different is my perspective on working remotely. I work for a hospice, a not-for-profit in town, and there are definitely ways to be efficient while working remotely. There's definitely it's definitely challenging us to communicate in very different new ways. We're no longer able to just walk down the hall and knock on someone's door. So it's been a lot of mindfulness around taking in, how should we communicate? How should we collaborate? How should we look for ways to get through this situation together while geographically spread a bit apart? But I'd also emphasize what Derek said. What I really like in his list is the personal enjoyment piece. Find something to do each day that makes you happy. And for me, that's just getting outside, going on a walk or two. I think that's really important, though, at this time.
Yeah, I've been trying to incorporate the outside a lot, whether I tie it in with my workout or, I've gone on a walk around the block and call my brother or sister, instead of just sitting on the couch talking to them, walk around and do it. So that's awesome. Yeah. Ricky, what do you got?
So on our end, let's see. So one of the first things we said was being able to set like a standard or a schedule, and just being able to go from there and say like, all right, I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm going to set aside this time for like my personal self. Like I wake up, we'll have our daily staff meeting at 9:15. From there, I'll go to like a daily email. And then after that, and so on, and just like set a schedule and really just find that normalcy in that way. But then also just being able to take that time, get all that work done, but really utilize the time that we're given and just kind of self-reflect in a way and just see like, I'm given this time, let's use this properly, and just kind of find like that thing outside of either swimming, triathlon training, or like coaching, just like what makes us happy, and being able to just say like, all right, I can finally take a break. So utilizing it in that way. So I think for swimmers, especially our swimmers, they get so wrapped up in the schoolwork. They wake up, they're at school maybe like 8 or 9 o'clock, all the way up until like 3, 4. They go to swim practice, they get home, they have dinner, they're in bed at like hopefully 9, or doing homework until they the ones who slack off on the homework. But either way, like it becomes late and they're working on homework or just getting to bed, and you just kind of run out of that time to have like that social life and really just experience what you really have a passion in. So being able to use this time to like really dive into those things and just basically enjoy yourself as much as you can while still getting the things you need to done.
Sure. Yeah, you use the word normalcy. I think this is such an interesting time where, people are so used to their daily normal life that all this change is kind of scaring some people. And we look for like that tiny bit of normalcy we can have. So, getting into a routine is awesome. But my other tip would be like, enjoy that different away from normalcy kind of life, that's giving us the opportunity, like some major changes could, help us change ourselves in a big way. So it could be cool. But Robin, what about you? Any tips, anything you've learned, anything you've been living by these last few weeks?
Yeah, one thing I've always certainly tried to live by, but I think this has also been brought more to light more recently, is to not compare yourself to anyone else in any of their situations, because everyone, especially right now, is dealing with something different. We're all struggling with something. We are all enjoying something, hopefully. But someone might be in their best of time right now, and someone might be in their worst of time. So if that means getting off of social media, do it. If that means stop listening to the news all the time, try to stay informed. But too much news or too much of that social media can really create havoc, I think, if you're prone to social comparison. So be you and accept the situation that you are in, and don't compare it to anyone else. And it's a lot easier said than done, I think, but I think it's important as we go forward. Yeah,
that's a really, really good point. I think to kind of piggyback off on that is a thought I had a couple weeks ago, where I was still, bullying is a thing, especially with social media. Cyberbullying is a pretty big thing right now. But give everybody the benefit of the doubt right now. Like you said, some people, you don't know what people are struggling with. That, someone could be jobless right now. They could have just been hit with a really big expense, could have lost a loved one, something like that. And you never know. So, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Be kind, even if it's hard to. Try to be kind. That's a really great point.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, that's all the questions I had for you guys. Does anybody else have anything they want to ask or talk about, or anything you want to say? You got a good story? You guys watching any good? Have you guys seen the Tiger King yet?
Yes.
Have you seen the newest episode though?
Which one's that?
They came out with a new one.
I've heard they have, but yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I might watch it tonight.
That sounds awesome. All you cool cats and kittens.
Yeah, no kidding. We all know Carol Baskin killed her husband, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
I haven't watched
anything else? What's
I
that?
haven't watched that show, but like, if you guys get a chance, watch The Circle. I watched it a couple weeks ago, and I'm still like thinking about it sometimes. It's basically like a social media like reality show type thing.
God.
So it's like everybody's like basically stuck inside their own hotel room, and they can make any like profile, whether or not it's true or like basically a catfish account. And like every week somebody like votes a person off. So by the end, like you have a certain amount of people still there. They meet up and just like, oh no way, that wasn't even you. You were lying the whole time. It's crazy though.
Wow.
It's a show of catfish.
Absolutely, yeah. But like they don't get to interact with each other outside of the social media thing. So it's not like they go to each other's rooms or anything like that. Like they're hidden the whole show. So
We should do that.
it's fun. I binged a whole series with my roommates in one day.
Oh, jeez.
We started at like noon and ended at midnight.
Will or Robin, you guys like seen any good TV shows, movies, read anything?
Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I've just finished it. That's a good book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't really been watching actually much TV. I don't know, trying to get outside more. But.
Yeah, I've been trying not to, but
yeah.
for some reason it's always there looking at me.
Well, it's kind of downstairs, and yeah, I don't know. It's out of the way.
Will, anything good?
Yeah, just watched Tiger King recently. Oh, Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
That's great. I'm wrapping
one.
up season 6 now. That was really good. But yeah.
Have you guys been seeing any of the like coronavirus parody songs or videos and stuff?
Yeah.
No, one of my roommates though, she's one of those who are like, I'm not gonna get a TikTok, and then like, all right, I'm just gonna get a TikTok. Like she's going through that progression right now, and she just yelled. She's like, I can hear you. But like, we've been seeing those like fitness challenges on there, so we've been doing a lot of those. So,
they're hard. I've done a couple of them too.
There's one where one of our friends, will go from like, you're in like flat on your chest, and then like they'll jump up on your back.
Oh yeah.
You go into like, okay, you've seen that one.
Yep.
You go into like a crouching position. They jump again. You go into a squat position. They jump again onto your shoulders, and then my friend, she did a backflip off mine. She ended up hurting her toe, but I mean, but like those are just the kind of things we've been doing.
Yeah, because the smartest thing right now is while the hospitals are clogged up with COVID patients, let's send in a couple broken legs.
So I mean, we got a man thing, so it doesn't change the fact that she kind of hurt herself, but we're doing it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I guess I'll close with I saw a quote online a couple days ago. I don't remember if it was on Facebook or Reddit or whatever it was, but it was really simple. It was just a cool picture of like a starlit background sky or something like that. And all it said on there was stop expecting and start accepting. And I thought that was like just a simple quote to kind of wrap everything and what's happening with this quarantine right now all into one. I mean, we kind of all touched base on this, but it's stop looking at when are the pools going to be open, when is school going to be open, when can I start training or competing the way I always have, or our normalcy of life, but start accepting that like we have no control over this. And Ricky, like you were saying, find that silver lining, find a way to use this opportunity, for lack of a better word, to our advantage and work on, like Robin, you were saying, the mobility, some of the side stuff that we don't have time for in the middle of the day. So kind of, postponing our long-term goals, but still doing the progress to get there. And, I think it's really important that everybody understands that the people that are the best at what they do, and what they love to do, this isn't going to set them back. They're going to do whatever they got to do to keep pushing through and to get better. And I think what's really going to be exciting is when competition starts back up again, like the 2021 Olympics now, it's going to be very interesting to see who performs well and who doesn't, based on, what they maybe should have to the status quo, because it's all going to come down to who used this time to their advantage and who didn't. It's going to be crazy. So I thought you guys all gave really good tips, good stories, and all that stuff. So I appreciate you guys being here. It's been great. But stay healthy, stay sane, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you guys out on the road biking by or something. Maybe not you, Ricky, but Will, Robin, and I.
Yeah.
There you go.
And in the lake soon. So.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. I mean, it's been a while since we've all been together, so it's really nice to see you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. But
yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for coordinating this, Derek.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I was going stir crazy and needed some other people to talk to. So I'm getting tired of talking to Alexa all the time. But, all right, guys. Well, thanks again for joining. We'll talk to you guys again soon, huh?
all right.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Yep. See ya.